What's up, guys, and welcome to another Hearthstone guide. In this guide we're going to be going over the Paladin, the strengths, the weaknesses, and some of the cool stuff that we've seen as far as deck building goes. And as always, to help me here is going to be Akky and Cani. Guys, what's going on?
Not much, my man.
Not a whole heck of a lot.
Alright, let's get into this Paladin business here. As always, guys, I'm going to cover the Legendary and the Hero Power. Now, the Hero Power for the Paladin is a very, very unique hero power. It summons a 1/1 for 2 mana crystals. Again, it doesn't have a charge or anything, it's just a 1/1 minion, but you can summon that at any time, as long as you have 2 crystals, and the Legendary is Tyrian Forging. And yes, I am lucky enough to have rolled a golden one of these. It comes with Divine Shield and Taunt, and the Death Rattle is equipped a 5/3 Ashbringer, probably with a 6/6. Probably, in my opinion, one of the most overpowered legendary class cards in the game. I can't think of one that's too much better than Tyrian.
No, that is...
Yeah.
When you really think about it, it's pretty...
Yeah, as far as class legendaries go, it's
Yeah.
fantastic. Probably the best one,
Yeah.
I would say.
I mean, Divine Shield, Taunt, plus Death Rattle 5/3. I mean, that's...
Oh, yeah, the weapon.
The weapon is
alone
insane.
so good.
That's 15 damage on a weapon that you're just getting. Like, that's not even including the 6/6 Taunt Shield.
You just killed my minion? Yeah, now I get 15 damage.
Yep. So going into strengths, I guess. Akky, why don't you cover some of the strengths of Paladins that you've seen?
Buffs! Buffs, 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 and more buffs. Buffs and bubbles, we'll call it. Buffs and bubbles. So...
That sounds like a porn I watched once. I'm not going to say what kind it was. I'm just going to leave it at that.
Oh, God, what's happening? Okay, buffs and bubbles. In the nicest non-Nash way possible. You get this cool card as a Paladin-only card, actually. It's the Argent Protector, which is a 2/2 for 2. But it also gives a friendly minion a Divine Shield on summon. So, bubble, basically, which is really cool. And then your buffs. So if we look at some of the buffs you can get, let me bring them up. Blessing of Might. 1 mana, give a minion 3 attack, and that's permanent. So it's not just a one-time, like this one turn only.
Yeah.
Blessing of Wisdom. You put a Blessing of Wisdom on a minion. Every time that minion attacks, you then draw a card. What else have we got? Oh, of course, the big one, Blessing of Kings, which gives a minion 4/4. So it's kind of like overpowered, but the minion doesn't die.
Right.
So that's very cool.
And those really work well synergy-wise with the hero power. I know, again, in some of the other classes, in some of the other class guides that we've done, like say the Hunter, where just there wasn't a lot of, or even the Druid, where the hero power didn't really synergize as well with some of the class cards. The Paladin synergizes so well with these minions and being able to buff with all these blessings and stuff like that. But keep going, Akky.
Even their weapons are really good too. I mean, they have arguably 2 of the best weapons in the game.
Yeah.
That being Sword of Justice, so that every time it's a 1/5 weapon, so it's not designed to be a traditional weapon where you attack with it. But what happens is whenever you summon a minion, you sacrifice 1 of that 5 durability to give the minion that you just summoned +1/+1. So,
Yeah.
as Nash was saying, with your hero power, when you summon that 1/1, it would then become a 2/2 for 2. I mean, that's amazing. So, but that works with any minion. You summon Ragnaros, he's going to be 9/9. You summon the Shinjin Shield Master, he becomes a 4/6. He just gets even with this weapon. So, and then the big one, which I think most Paladins are known for, is their True Silver Champion. So what this weapon does is it's a 4/2, so 4 attack, 2 durability, but whenever you attack, before you make the attack, it restores 2 health to your hero before you make the attack. So any damage you take, you always heal 2 of that damage. So pretty damn good.
Yeah. Those 2 weapons are by far 2 of the most powerful weapons in the game.
Yeah.
especially just based on the synergy of the class. And going into some of the other strengths before we get into some of the weaknesses with Cani here, is some of the, they have secrets that can be a real pain. Things like humility can really destroy some of the bigger creatures and some of the more, just like Ventureco's, Boulder Fists, that card for 1 cost pretty much nullifies it.
They have a lot of, I guess you could say, a lot of minion manipulation.
Yeah, that's a good way to put it, actually, yeah.
Yeah, like Eldor Peacekeeper, reduce the health, give other minions buffs, give her bubbles, that sort of thing. So.
Yeah, and then the only other real strength, or the biggest thing that I hate about Paladins is Equality Consecrate combo. At turn 6, pretty much ruins your day for any Zerg deck that you may have ever made, because you're done.
Yep. You want to know an even better combo? Wild Pyromancer Equality. So the way that combo works on turn 4 is you play the Wild Pyromancer first, you then play the Equality, which reduces all enemy minions' health to 1, and which then triggers the Pyromancer, which does 1 damage to all minions.
So it's a board clear essentially for 3.
Yeah, it also affects yourself, but
Yeah, but for 3 costs you can do what Twisting Nether does for 8.
For 4, yeah.
Oh,
4
yeah, 4 costs.
Oh, exactly.
Yeah, so that's a pretty sick combo for 4 mana. So, but yeah, the better one obviously is the Equality Consecrate because it only affects them. But if you're in a real pinch, you haven't got any minions, and you're up against a rush deck, then Equality Pyromancer is really good too.
Okay, yeah, I would have never actually thought of that. That's a really good point. Weaknesses, Cani, go.
I think one of the biggest weaknesses that Paladin decks can see is any kind of weapon destruction or durability reduction. So things like the Ooze, things like Harrison Jones, and I'm pretty sure there's a pirate that does it. I think Corsair.
Yeah.
Removing a durability from your opponent's weapon on Battlecry, like that can be really detrimental to a Paladin, especially. Like it can really swing the momentum back in your favor. Right. If they've already used a charge of their True Silver to clear your board, and you sit there and you drop a 1-cost minion that removes the other durability for the weapon, they're kind of screwed for that. If they plan to use both charges. Mm-hmm. Another weakness to Paladin decks is silence. Being able to silence a minion with a Divine Shield, or a minion that if they happen to use their hero power and then drop Blessing of Kings on it or something, like to be able to turn around and silence that back to a 1/1 is really beneficial and very detrimental to the Paladin.
Absolutely.
So I mean that is. I guess one of the biggest counters.
The biggest weakness that I've seen whenever I play a Paladin is I know that my #1 goal is to keep the board clear. I know that if I can maintain board control against a Paladin, eventually I'll probably win, because every card that they have, even their hero power, is based on board control. So if you can maintain board control against a Paladin, they're almost helpless, really.
Yeah, the thing that makes them really strong is also the thing that makes them really weak. If they don't have minions to buff, and you make use of the bubbles and the buffs and stuff, then they're essentially sitting ducks, really. I mean, you might get a couple of consecrates, but that's all they got if they can't play minions, so.
Yep.
Yeah, absolutely. Is there any real, let's get into some builds here. I know that some of the builds that I've seen, I actually see a lot of Paladins in Arena, because Arena is one of my favorite things to do, and I can't tell you how many times I run into Paladins. Probably the most run into class in Arena that I've seen is Paladins, and I think just because of, like we were talking about before, especially with the way that Arena works with the RNG of the cards that you can get, when you can really start stacking some of these Paladin cards beyond 2, like I've seen people with, I've ran into 3 Swords of Justice or 3 True Silver weapons. I've ran into 4 Consecrates before. And just some of these cards that just make Paladin so good in Arena, if you can times them by 3 or times them by 4, it's almost impossible to beat those decks just because of how well they can buff creatures. And as Akky had initially gotten into, and let's get into that right now, is the porn movie, the Buffs and Bubbles, or whatever we were calling it. Go into that a little bit more, exactly what you meant by that.
Yeah, so I mean, think about it. If you say you sort of get into mid game, 5-6 mana, you got minions that aren't being taken off, you can really make them quite potent. You know, you could play Blessing of Kings for 4 mana, and then play your little Argent Defender, and then give that minion that you just buffed up a bubble. So it's, you know, it's immune to the first amount of damage that it takes.
Mm-hmm.
So it's, I mean, you could do some crazy things. I mean, there's even things like Blessing of Might on something with the Blessing of Kings. So you're giving it essentially a 7 extra damage. And then there's this card called Blessed Champion, which it doubles a minion's attack. So, you know, if you get into sort of late game, you can pull off some pretty big... Yeah, you guys remember how priests get crazy, right? You know, they can get like 32 attack. And yeah, it's like that, but you can do that with paladins too. So, maybe not quite to the extent that priests can do it, but you can do some pretty crazy game-ending minions.
I've seen the Blood Knights with
yeah,
Blessing of Champion and with all the bubbles that paladins have. I've seen paladins buff themselves and then knock out a Blood Knight that's just disgusting, and then the next turn the game's over. I mean, by turn 6, literally, I've seen the game just be completely over in one attack. It was disgusting, and it made me cry, and I almost slapped the game. So
Poor Slapper.
Poor Slapper.
So. Yeah, so I mean, you've got a lot of options there. Just sort of, like I said, you got to have the minions to do it, and if you've got the minions to do it, you can really run rampant. So.
And Cani, any paladin decks or tips and tricks that you've seen?
I mean, the only thing that I've seen that I don't think we really mentioned was Paladin's ability to heal. They have a couple of the most potent heals in the game. In Lay on Hands, which is 8 cost, restore 8 health, but also draw 3 cards. That is one of the best heals in the game. Like, completely blows my mind that they're allowing
the best heal in the game.
Yeah, that they're allowing 3 card draw on top of 8 healing. You know, that's just absolutely obscene. But another one that I actually really like is the Guardian of Kings card. For 7 cost and a 5/6 minion, you also restore 6 health to your hero when you summon him. And you know, not only is that a huge beefy minion on the board that, you know, not a lot of cheaper minions can take out, but that's restoring 6 health to you. That's a fireball that you just turn around and heal back. So
plus you get a 5/6 on the board.
Exactly, which, you know, if you're playing against a mage, for example, they have to respond to with, you know, a frostbolt or a polymorph or something like that to try and counter.
They just wasted. They have to use the other one to kill the guy.
Yeah.
Yep, exactly. So, you know, there's those arguably 2 of the greatest heals that are available in the game. You know, other than the druid one, I know is 8 for 3. It's valuable. That's great value for 3, but you know, 8 for 8 with 3 card draw is just phenomenal to keep up your momentum in a game.
And then 6 for 7 with a 5/6 is equally as disgusting, in my opinion.
Oh, exactly. Yeah. And the only other card was you know, Holy Wrath, which it has potential. It can really turn around and bite you for trying to use it. But for 5 cost, you draw a card, and then deal damage equal to the cost of the card that you've drawn. So, you know, one of the styles of decks that are out there right now are really, you know, really expensive decks with healing capability to last you through the game until you can draw your Holy Wrath to, you know, get something like the Molten Giant, which is a 20 cost card.
Oh, I didn't even think about that.
You know. Yeah, or your, you know, your other cards, anything with high cost, Ravenhold Assassin, Gruul, Onyxia. If you draw those cards with Holy Wrath, you're dealing all of that damage, you know. So you can turn around and deal 8, 9, 12, 20 damage to someone in a single draw if you get lucky. So there's a giant paladin deck out there right
I want
now.
to try that one. Just make it interesting.
I really want to
pretty
try.
nasty.
It's a huge deck. It just could be Holy Wrathen.
It's pretty nasty. So it's, an option, of course.
That's cool. So yeah, some crazy things.
Yeah, paladins are probably, in my opinion, amongst the top of the classes right now.
For sure.
I would say, just below mage, probably tied with things like, I've seen some, rogues, warlocks, and shamans that are very good, but I would put paladins right up there in that top tier of classes right now, probably sitting in second place, honestly, in my opinion.
I would say it's probably
absolutely.
going to go mage. I would go mage, warlock, paladin, to be honest, but very close between warlock and paladin.
Yeah.
Very, very close. So.
Yeah, they're an extremely, especially as you get the cards. These cards, it is. I will tell you this though, guys. It is one of those classes where you do need the cards. You can't make a paladin deck without a lot of the paladin cards, because remember, the synergy that these cards bring with each other is what makes this class so good. So if you don't have the cards, you can't find a neutral minion that can replace the power of the cards that the paladin has. So keep that in mind, is that you do need to have the cards initially to really enjoy the paladin the way that you want to going forward into this game. But guys, is there anything else you wanted to cover about the paladin before we take off on this one?
Yeah, covers just about everything about the paladin. Yeah.
Yeah, I think that was about it.
Alright guys, so again, if you have any other questions about any of the paladin stuff or any other cool tips and tricks that you've come up with, let us know in the comments below, or otherwise, as always, we will see you in the next one.